Boys and girls, why do we have Christmas? It's getting close, isn't it? I bet you've put in your orders for your presents. But why do we have it Christmas? We know that Christmas Jesus is born, so what? Why? Well, I'll tell you a little story. Once upon a time, there was a young king who really cared about his people. He loved his people and was really upset to know how much they suffered. They were hungry, they also suffered from being cold, and there's also all these pests that destroyed their crops. He was very upset about that. He did what he could by giving them gifts, clothes, food, all those things. But he didn't have much resources himself to give them. And also often the people, they were too ignorant to accept them. He tried to teach them and tell them how to do things a better way so they wouldn't be hungry, cold, and to farm better and all that, but they didn't really take much notice of him. Because they would often go and say, well, what would he know? He's the king, he lives in the palace. So, the king was dejected. What's he going to do? He loved his people, but he couldn't really connect with his people, and his people didn't know that he loved them. How could he show that he loved his people? So one day, he went to talk to one of the old ministers in his government, in his palace. And he said, what can I do? And the old man said, well, he said, there's only one thing you really can do to gain the confidence and trust of your people, your majesty. He said, what's that? Tell me. He said, you've got to live among them. Ah, live among them. Okay. Later on that day, no one in the palace saw this young man dressed in peasant clothes sneak out of the palace. It was the king. He snuck out and he went down to the village where his people, the poor peasant, the farmers were, and he lived in a little hut. Got a little hut and he worked with them and he ate with them. He got to know his people. And they came to love this fella. They didn't know he was the king. He was in disguise. They thought, what a nice man. Later on, they would come to him and ask him advice and for help. And the people in the village were really upset when he said that he had to leave them, to go somewhere. He snuck back into the palace. The next time they saw the king, he was on one of his visits, dressed as the king, with his crown on and all his beautiful clothes, and the normal trips he would do down into the village and the countryside around. And when he went, the people, the king's coming again, big deal. What would he care about us with all his money and his wealth? But then they saw him and they recognised him, that he was the man that lived among them. He was the one they loved and trusted. He was the one that cared for them. And when they saw that it was the king, they rejoiced because they knew that the king really loved and cared for them because he lived among them, loved them that much. You get that, boys and girls? You could say God is a little bit like the king. God loved his people so much, but people didn't realise that God loved them. So what did God end up doing? He came down to live among his people. And he lived among us as Jesus Christ. And he was born at Bethlehem. Jesus is God, and he's also a man, really, really special. So that's why we have Christmas. That's why it's a special day. That's why you get presents, you get a lot to eat, and we have nice tinsel, and we make a big fuss about Christmas because it's when God came to live among us to prove to us that he loved us and cared for us so much. Have a happy and holy Christmas, and don't eat too much. God bless.